Well, hey there, neighbor. It's me, Angie. Get on in here. We got some things to talk about. Well, this morning, as I was trying to realize that I was alive and get myself together to get some things done this morning, and I knew I was going to do a taping sometime today, but I didn't know when. It's 11 a.m. here in Mississippi, and I got up around probably the first time I woke up is when my husband left for work this morning, which was about 5:30, and then I actually didn't get up and start functioning till around 7:30 this morning, I guess. And I had my breakfast, and I set up a time for my son to get his house cleaned this week. It's a gift that I'm giving he and his wife because they're having Thanksgiving dinner at their home. So my son said something about he would love to have their house go up through a deep cleaning before um, everyone got there. And him being a physical therapist and his wife being a pharmacist, and they having a 10-month-old baby, and they have two pets, they just don't have time to do the deep cleaning. So mom came to the rescue, and I'm glad that I could. But anyway, I did that. I called around and checked on some other things that my husband needed me to check on, and got online and paid some bills. And, well, the usual mom, secretary, jack of all trades person. That's who I am, and I'm fine with that. But anyway, as I was getting my makeup on and getting dressed this morning, I thought, now what can I talk about on my video today? And the topic that I have decided on is a Mississippi woman marrying a Louisiana man. And that's what my husband and I are. Like I've told you before, I'm from a small town in Mississippi, and he's from a small town in Louisiana. And I'd like to tell you all how we met. So when y'all actually meet him, which y'all will, because we're going to do a cooking video soon, y'all will have a little history on him and about him. And he doesn't mind if I tell it. I'm pretty sure he doesn't. But I was maybe, I might have been 20 years old. Because he and I, no, I had to be 19 because he and I got married uh, the day before I turned 20 years old. We got married on May the 16th, and I turned 20 on May the 17th. Now, don't ask me why I did that. I don't know. I was in love. I didn't care what day it was. And then, Mother's Day's in May, so I have my birthday, Mother's Day, our anniversary all in 1 month. And I have gotten some pretty good gifts, but then again, some years it was like, okay, well, since you have it all in one time, we'll just give you one gift. And it's not all about the gifting. And I've never been a person to care about the gifting. But anyway, I was working as a CNA at a nursing home in a town close to ours, Brookhaven, Mississippi. And I was working the 3 to 11 shift because we would swap shifts. Like sometimes I'd work 7 to 3, 3 to 11, 11 to 7. It just depended on when they needed me. And so I was working that night, and one of my best friends named Patricia showed up right before I got off work. And I had a male of a Hess day. Let's just say that. It wasn't, or night. It wasn't the best night to work. I was tired. I was ready to go home. I didn't want to be around anybody. But anyway, she shows up. She comes in, bebopping, smiling. I thought, oh no, she has got mischief on her mind. So she comes up to me and she says, look here, after you get off work, we're going to go to Top Cats, which was a nightclub a little further than Brookhaven. And we probably had to drive 20 more minutes. And I said, absolutely not. I'm not going. I'm tired. I don't want to go. No, I'm not doing it. She begged and she begged. So finally I said, okay, we're going to go. We're going to stay 1 hour and we're leaving because I'm exhausted. Okay, so she was about a year or so younger than me, and I think she was still in school, so she didn't work. Well, we get off work. Well, I get off work. She's waiting on me outside. We get in my vehicle, which was a 1985 Cavalier. We head to Top Cats. We get there, and when I turn my key off, I'd say to her, Patricia, we're not staying long, so don't get your hopes up. So we go in, I sit down at the bar. She's flip-flopping everywhere, talking to everybody, and I'm just sitting there thinking, why did I do this? Why did I come to this place? Well, next thing I know, here she comes with two guys. One that she liked, obviously, she had his arm around him, and his friend, who is now my husband, James. Well, she says, I want you to meet a couple of people that I just met. And I'm like, oh, Lord, please, no. So he introduces himself. The friend was Greg and, of course, my husband, James. And I just kind of gave him the cold shoulder. I was like, hey, how are you? You know, this and that. So Patricia and Greg just walk off and leave him there with me, which frustrated me even more. So he begins to talk, and I'm kind of listening, kind of not. You know, I don't really want to be too rude to him. So he said, do you want to dance? I'm like, no, I really don't because I've been working and I'm tired. The only reason I come here tonight was because of my friend. And, you know, I really ready to go. But, you know, he said, well, how about I buy you a drink? And I'm like, well, I'm driving and I don't really want to drink a lot and get behind the wheel of a car. You know, I was just like, no. Everything he would suggest would be like, no, no, no. So he was pretty persistent. He sat there for a while and talked. Patricia comes back over there, brings more of their friends, and we just sat around. And finally, I just got up and said, come on, Patricia, let's go. I'm tired. I'm ready to go home. So we start walking out the door, and she starts walking out the door with this guy that was a friend of my husband's. And I'm like, no, no, he's not, nuh-uh. He needs to stay here. He's not going with us. Because at the time, I lived with my grandparents. And I'm like, Patricia, we don't even know these people. They could be serial killers. I don't know them. So we go to my car. I get in the driver's side. She's standing out on where the passenger side is, and I'm saying, get in the car. Get in the car. Finally, she gets in. Well, James is around there on my side talking to me. Well, finally, I just told him, I said, you know, it's nice to meet you. And at the time, I'm thinking, why would somebody from Louisiana come over state lines to go to a nightclub? Because I'm thinking he's married. And I'm like, this dude is married. He's got to be. But anyway, I just said bye to him, and he said, what's your phone number? I want to call you. And I'm like, no, I don't give my phone numbers out to strangers. No, and at that time, it was no cell phones. It was the phone that hung on the wall, if you all can relate to what I'm saying. And so he goes around there where Greg is with Patricia, and he tries to talk to Patricia a minute and say, I really would like her phone number, this and that. And I said, Patricia, don't give him my phone number because I told him I didn't want him to have it. So as we're leaving, he asked her one more time what my phone number was. So she just starts blurting it out. Well, I got kind of upset, and then I thought, well, he didn't really get all those numbers. He didn't hear what she said. So I said, okay, I'm good with that. Okay, that was Friday night. The next day, my grandmother's phone rings, and guess who it is? I'm thinking, I know that he didn't catch all those numbers in what she was yelling out with the phone number. And of course he did. Well, he started, carrying on conversation, and I started talking to him. And I said, look here, I know you're married. He swears up and down, no, I'm not married. I live with my grandmother. And I'm thinking, now that's too weird. I'm living with my grandparents and you live with your grandmother. I don't know if I believe you or not. He's like, I promise you, I'm not married. He said the only reason I was there was because one of my friends wanted to go to that nightclub, and I rode along with them, and gave me that kind of story. And I'm like, okay, we talked for a couple of more days, and then he wanted to come to where we live now and visit. And I said, okay. And he comes up with Greg, the friend of his that my friend Patricia was hanging all over and liked. So they come up and we went on a date. I think we went to Jackson, Mississippi, which is 45 miles from where I live now, which was the city where you go shopping and movies and had all the restaurants, and it still is to this day. So I think we went there and spent the day. We come back and we had a great time. It was a real good time. But my husband, I was kind of a stand backish person. I never did let really anybody get close to me, and really don't to this day. Well, as we started dating and going along, I looked at him as he was being pushy, and he wanted the relationship to just speed up. And I was like, no, I just want to date. I don't want nothing serious. And my grandmother loved him. She was like, oh, he's so nice. He's got a good job. He treats you so good. And I would just roll my eyes like, well, then you date him. I mean, I just don't want to move that fast. So finally, in December we started dating in June. In December, we actually broke up because he was just moving too fast. I didn't like that. Well, we stayed apart for up until the 1st of March. And I got up enough nerve to call him. And we started dating again, and the rest is history. We decided in March that we would date, and then the next year, I think we got married in May. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that it was in May. No, I know it was in May, but I'm pretty sure it was the next May. But when I went to meet his family, I didn't know what to expect. So we got to his grandmother's house, and he opens the door and he introduces me, and these people start hugging, kissing my cheek, greeting me, and I'm like, no, I don't know if I like this or not, because that's not the way my family greeted people. We were just like, hey, how you doing? And we didn't get physical. We never said we loved each other. That just wasn't the thing that my family did. So when you went to hugging and kissing on me, it was like something that I wasn't used to. So I was like, okay, I can take this for a few minutes. It's fine. It's fine. So we go on into the house. I meet everybody, and his grandmother had cooked. And she had cooked spaghetti. And I'm thinking, oh no, not spaghetti. Because that's one of the meals that I didn't like. Because to me, spaghetti was meat, tomato sauce, salt and pepper over noodles. And I didn't like that. Unbeknownst to me, that's not spaghetti. In Louisiana, when they say they're fixing spaghetti, it is awesome. I mean, it has all these spices. I mean, it is great. So I sat down and was like, okay, I'm gonna have to eat this meal, and this is one of the least favorite meals that I like. So I took a bite of it, and I was like, wait a minute, this is not too bad. And I ate it, and it was great. So we ate lunch. Then we decided to leave to go meet one of his best friends that he went to school with. We get in the car. He looks at me and says, well, what do you think? And I said, okay, here's the thing. I like them. Very nice people. But there's only one thing. And he said, okay, what's wrong? I said, I don't mind the hugging. I can get used to that. But the kissing on the cheek and stuff like that, that would be a no. I don't want them to do that anymore. And of course, he bust out laughing because he knows how I am. I'm like, to get close to me at that time was, you had to be really persistent because I just didn't do that. He said, "Oh, you'll get used to it." And I'm thinking, that's what you think. But I did. With his family, I got used to it and it was fine. Which just brought me out a lot through my life to it taught me when I had children to hug on them and kiss them and tell them that I loved them. And I mean, so it was a great thing, but at the time it was just really awkward because I wasn't used to that kind of behavior. I was thinking, nope, don't want this. So anyway, that was after we had got engaged. We had just got engaged when he took me to meet his family. And we have been married now, it'll be 35 years in May. We dated a year before we got married. We have 2 children, 1 grandchild, uh, many, many stories to tell about our marriage. Now, don't get me wrong, we've had our ups and downs, but uh, all in all, it's been a wonderful ride with him by my side. Uh, we're both kind of like the same person because when he and I agree on doing something, we can move mountains. But when we disagree with each other, it is horrible. It's not that we fuss and fight, it's just that we're so hard headed, neither one of us will give in to what the other one wants to do. And then we always go back to that saying that his grandmother gave us as marital advice. She said, "The only advice I can give you is to always remember you have to have a misunderstanding to get to an understanding." And after all these years, that's the advice that I give people because that has helped us in our marriage so much. Is to, when you have a misunderstanding, you have to talk it out and come together and realize that everybody's not going to get what they want. You have to compromise. It's not one person just takes and takes and takes. It's a give and take. And we've learned that. But anyway, this Louisiana man that I'm married to, though sometimes I want to pinch his head off, I love him and I wouldn't take anything for him. And he's a hard worker. And I'll tell more about him later in my videos after you meet him. But like I said, this video is about a Mississippi woman marrying a Louisiana man and the adventure of how it all came about. That's all I have today, YouTubers. Bye, neighbors.